All right, you ready, FairTV?
Recording in progress.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. This is Craig Curley, Chairman of the Board of Finance. We are about to call to order the meeting, Tuesday, January 6th, Board of Finance meeting. The agenda was posted online, and we've got a couple of voting items tonight, but it's a relatively short agenda. So why don't we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? John, will you lead us?
Sure.
Right up here.
Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Item number 3 on the agenda is here consider an act on a request from the Chief Fiscal Officer to transfer $46,454.24 from the general fund contingency to conservation for the purchase of one Bobcat tractor. Can I get a motion to hear this item? Bob, seconded by Dave. Okay, great. I believe, Tom, you were going to present with the Conservation Director, Tim Bishop. I don't see Tim on the line. Oh, he's on. Great. Perfect timing. Mr. Bishop, welcome.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Great.
These are funds that were set aside in the budget process and put into the general contingency for capital outlay items that were removed from the budget. So these are funds that we're going to, 130,000 will be used for this item and the next 2 items.
Okay. And for the public that back up, for this item starts on page 1 of the online backup. Mr. Bishop, is there anything else you'd like to add about this tractor or anything in particular?
Yeah, I appreciate working with Tom and the First Selectman's office to get this back in front of the right body, and this was in the capital I guess pot per se in the last year, in the last cycle, and really I appreciate the consideration for the urgency, because the current piece of equipment, tractor backhoe that we have is over 10 years old, and I've used the example that the wheels are falling off because in August they literally snapped off while the equipment was in the woods moving boulders, and it's just aging out. So I again appreciate the consideration from the board. We use it every day, and happy to answer any questions. It's relatively equivalent, slightly upgraded just in horsepower, gives the department something new and more versatile than what we currently have. So
Okay.
again, if there are questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Any questions from the board on this item? Yes, Mr. Myers.
Is this item available in the dealer's inventory? Are you going to be able to take possession of it shortly, or how long will it take to get?
It is, and part of our process was we were able to generate a PO to hold the pricing. So with the that was secured in December, so we avoided any increases for the 2026 model year. So the dealer does have it, and we're not going to be waiting 13 months to take delivery.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Myers, any other questions? Any questions from anyone else on the board? Yeah, Mr. Walsh.
I apologize, I just walked in, but why can't this be purchased in the next budget? Because I've been on this board for well over 10 years. I've been on the Board of Selectmen. I've been on the RTM.
Machine, he said the machine he has now is broke.
Broke, the axle snap.
That's the reason.
It snapped.
The axle broke.
Yeah, it's over 10 years old. That's what he said before you got here.
All right, and you definitely need it before May?
We use it almost every day to move boulders, plant trees, move stone and topsoil. Yeah, I don't see a way around it. I don't think we could borrow a machine for that often for that long, and certainly can't rent one. So I would say it's pretty urgent to and crucial to the department's operations.
And there's no other piece of machinery in the town's inventory that could cover for this piece?
I don't think for a year period, but
It'd be for until July.
yeah, don't know the answer to that. That would be a public works question. I don't know if they have extra equipment to lend to us or to operate.
But Mr. Walsh, one item that one point that the director made regarding the pricing was that it was in inventory and at prior pricing before any increases for 26.
I have no further questions.
I see that Ms. Ruggiero and Mr. Stark has joined us as well. Do you guys have any questions? No. Okay.
Kevin shook his head.
Great. All right, not hearing any further questions, we'll take this to a vote. All in favor of approving the funds requested, 46,454.24 for the Bobcat tractor as noted? Raise your hands. Aye. Say aye. All right, and Mr. Stark? I see your picture, so I'm not sure. Oh, he needs to be unmuted. Is it possible to unmute?
Should be able to, yeah.
You should be able to unmute now.
I'm a yes.
All right, perfect. That's unanimous. 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you, everybody. Item number 4, here consider an act upon a request from the CFO to transfer $83,545.76 from the general fund contingency to DPW for the purchase of 2 Ventrac sidewalk snow removal tractors, 1 12-foot trailer, and 2 dumpsters. The balance of $4,343.14 over the transfer request will be funded using the fiscal year 26 operating funds. May I have a motion to hear this item? Mr. Rock, seconded by Mr. Mottola. I think we have John Cattell is here as well. Great. Thank you, John. And Mr. Harris, I'll turn it over to you guys in terms of taking us through this.
This is the remainder of the $130,000 that was in contingency that would be used for these items. Yeah.
Yeah,
What does that mean, though?
So were there funds that were earmarked for these items that were put into contingency? Help us.
Yeah, there was, when we went through the budget process last year, there were a number of items that were in capital outlay that were removed from the budget. And at the board meeting, it was decided that $130,000 would be put into contingency to fund future capital outlay projects. So of that 130,000, 46,000 was just 46,454 was just used for the purchase of the tractor.
Yeah.
And the balance would be used to purchase the items and sell this one. You know, but of the total purchase price, a portion of that will be funded from his operating budget because the total cost of the items will exceed the 130,000.
Maybe I'm getting old and have a bad memory. That's something we did? We voted to
Yes.
do?
I don't remember that.
Well, there were 2 parts. I guess the other part was at the meeting. An additional amount was allocated to golf projects. So I think 70,000, or roughly 70,000, was designated for capital for the golf course. So maybe it was less, and the remainder was designated for general contingency capital outlay. And the discussion was that when there were items identified, needs identified, they would be presented to the first select person. And then we'll come to this board for the request approval for transfer.
Do you, not to be
So there is a budget item. in-
Was that during the budget process?
Yeah, it was the final budget.
final-
it-
Final
the final
vote.
budget.
I remember, but do you know if the items that we were sort of I guess not in agreement on in terms of doing the capital outlay?
There was no,
Were these the same items or
no,
these
we
different items?
did not agree. The items to be funded were not identified, except for golf. 130,000 was
Right.
then designated, and the agreement was that when a request was made to buy additional items, and you come to this board and present the request.
So as the golf people, golf courses use their money.
I don't think they've used it all yet, but it was 70,000 was, I think it was 70. Some amount was allocated to the golf outlay. But I don't know if they've actually spent it.
To buy equipment.
Yes, correct.
I don't really have a lot of recollection. I would watch the FairTV.
Oh, yeah, you should, yeah.
I would watch the FairTV, the final budget night.
Okay, so
Yes, and it's in the budget, it's in the
Yeah.
budget book.
I just pulled up my notes from that final budget night, and there was it was one of the last items that we were discussing. There was a $72,000 for a mower at Carl J. Dickman and $98,000 for a mower at H. Smith Richardson. That totals 170,000, and then we reduced the capital equipment in contingency by that 170, so it was budget neutral. So in other words, we specifically pulled, if I heard you correctly, we put, I think it was $300,000 into contingency for capital outlay, but we pulled
Correct.
170 out so we could specifically identify those things. And the 300,000, the remaining 130 was not identified.
Correct.
So that's, I'm glad I got the notes, so. Okay,
Glad you got the notes too.
yeah, no kidding.
Me too.
Okay, so with that, John, can you take us through what these items are?
So first one's the two Ventrac sidewalk machines. These are basically for removal of snow. They're a little hefty machine that it has a flat plate that you can stand on and moves along. A lot of your contractors that do commercial accounts will have these things. It's for two of them. It has the plow if it's real, heavy. You have a brush on it that you can alternate with it for the light snows just to get them off, as well as a snow blower to shoot it far. Along with those two items, we've got the trailer to help move them around. We've been getting added more and more sidewalks. The sidewalk, when we have a snowstorm, we have people designated to the different, 3 crews that are designated to the different railroad stations, and then all the sidewalk buildings throughout the towns, the town buildings. And also we wind up having to do some of the overpasses of the railroads that go over the tracks. Some of the state roads that do not have a Ludney property owner. If you think about coming over exit 23, there's certain areas there where that's the responsibility of a Ludney property owner. So usually on a lot of these snowstorms, where you have the main trucks out there clearing the roads, along with some smaller trucks, you have the sidewalk crews and train crews, platform crews, we call them also. They're usually probably at the very end of cleaning up everything, just because of the amount that they have. This will hopefully help speed them up a little bit with these type of issues.
Questions?
So are these readily available?
Yes, we should be able to get it within a week or two.
It's like on a state price of some sort?
Yes, it's let's say price, it's social, what they call that again? It is on a,
Bid list or something?
it's Sourcewell's, which is a known government contract.
I'm hoping you're gonna tell me that this will save us money, there'll be less overtime from your guys having to shovel sidewalks, so. Are you gonna tell me that?
I'm gonna tell you that it helps to get those final guys done when the rest of the crews get done. So technically, that would speed them up.
Will it save us overtime or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell me what the storm is, I'll tell you what it
Certainly, it will save on person hours.
was.
Mr. Myers.
What is the useful life of these?
I was thinking you could get at least 10 years out of it. Okay, I went on how many? Maybe 15 years.
Mr. Walsh.
So we took some pieces of equipment out of your budget, right? And that's why
Yes.
they're in. These pieces of equipment, the ones you were seeking to purchase last budget season? Or were there other things you were trying to purchase
We-
last budget season?
There were other things, some trucks also that were, higher value, when I was making them. We had in the budget for event tracks, that was more of a tractor, where it was gonna be just the one tractor type, and working with the crews and for efficiency and being able to split them up, we went with these two, this type. since then.
Okay, and this can only be used for snow.
I think, I'm not positive on that. We'll say something that's not. I mean, you have a broom on the thing, so it can be used for cleaning, dust or dirt on a sidewalk. You have the sidewalks underneath the overpasses of I-95 that people complain about. So I would think that since you have a broom, used on that too.
So are we gonna be, you gonna be seeking in your budget? The same pieces last year that you didn't get, and that we put it in contingency, and now you're gonna be seeking again.
Yes, there will be some trucks that we seeking that was on it last year that were taken out.
But it does sound like these two items.
But these were not.
different, They were
They
replacing.
replaced the other one, yes.
All right.
And therefore, perhaps we wouldn't be asking for these.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Stark.
I sort of hate bringing this up, but, there hasn't been meaningful snow on the ground until now for years. And when there is, people start complaining about places that aren't cleared. And we don't need to add fuel to the fire to the people complaining about the High Street development. So if the town happens to be responsible for snow removal on those sidewalks, be great if these machines or others could be used to take care of that. And then on that same chain, someone mentioned that the sidewalk along Tunks Hill Park isn't being cleared, so there too, that's all.
Good points. Any other questions before we think about Mr. McCall?
Question, just a comment.
Yeah.
To start with. So, and this is for the public benefit, if there's a problem, if something has been plowed or snowed, or your department,
Yes.
I've done it in the past and you're very responsive.
They can call it, they can do citizen requests. I mean, we still get them where people will turn around and say, oh, can you come closer to the curb on the cul-de-sac? Or, we need to get this area here, can you come back for that?
My point is, don't complain about it on Facebook, on the phone, and call you guys. That's what I would say.
Yes. I personally do not follow Facebook. So-
You're smart.
I do not look at Facebook at all. I don't have an account. I go by citizen requests, phone calls, and communications with them.
One more thing.
Yeah, Mr. Stark.
How many plow trucks do we actually have?
You have your large plow trucks we probably have about 31 of them. Those are your 6-wheeler and your 10-wheel dumps. And we have, I think maybe about 9 mason dumps that we use for the dead ends and cul-de-sacs to assist the larger trucks.
Any other questions? I do have one follow-up, just unrelated to the snow removal tractors. There's also the 12-foot trailer and the 2 dumpsters. Are those replacing out of or unused for life?
Two dumpsters, yes, they're rusted up, they're unsafe, their hinges and locking devices aren't what they should be, and, you know, could create a safety issue if they swing open.
Yeah.
Transporting.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Walsh.
So what other contingency funds do we have? Snow continues to go crazy. Correct.
More than last year at this point in time.
So if it continued upon this track and we need money to snow removal or excess snow removal costs, do we have any other further contingency money to pay for this?
We have a general contingency, miscellaneous contingency, but it's about $15,000. But I think
And that's the contingency fund though, Tom.
yeah, but in terms of, I think that,
That's not what we're talking about.
no, I understand, it's not a significant number,
No.
but I think when Mr. Cattell does his budget, one of the things he says is he, you know, really anticipates generally a budgets for, you know, not the worst case, but an expectation that there'll be a fair amount of snow. I won't speak for him, but that's my understanding.
So what did we budget for snow removal? Here,
I don't have it here.
No removal, there's an overtime amount account that's just strictly for snow. I don't have the number right here.
That's all right.
Oh, I guess
Last year, we came close to it. We had a lot of storms at the. This year, there's also, you know, snow, you have salt. The treated salt that we're using. Fill up our bins. I call them bins. At the end of the year we look like we had enough money, then okay, we'll fill the thing up and start with a full thing. And then on top of that, I probably have another $200,000 earmarked towards purchasing salt. So our one bin carries about 4,000 tons maybe. One over at Tunx's carries about 400 tons. And you know, when we fill up the trucks to go and do a full salting, you might be talking around 200 tons to go through and do a straight salting of the roads.
I would have just following up, maybe just if there keeps acting like it's been acting, probably 50 degrees this week, which is kind of nice. I just keep us and Tom Harris advised of if you're thinking you're gonna go over budget on snow removal. We should get that on the quarterly review maybe too.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Quarterly review meeting, can you tell us how much you spend percentage wise?
So we know.
So would that be then for this second quarter? That takes me to the end of December? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking up to that.
For the day.
For the,
Remember the day before the meeting.
Okay.
What percentage you spent?
Okay.
It's a February meeting.
it's
You'll
the
have
third
time.
week in February.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, let us know if you're over or under budget, you know, at that
How
point.
you doing?
You know.
Yeah, overtime has its own dedicated account. Something straightforward to, you know.
Yeah. So on all the accounts that we would consider to be snow removal, salt, overtime, whatever else.
Okay, great. Last following questions or comments on this item? So we'll go to a vote. All in favor of approving the 83,545.76 as requested, raise your hands or say aye. Like it's unanimous. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Cattell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasant evening.
Okay. That takes us to item 5 on the presentation. No backup for this item, but Tom Harris, our CFO, is going to just give us an update on the fiscal year 25 audit.
The audited financial statements are due the end of December. The audit is not complete. We have filed and requested and received an extension. The delay is due to the fact that, as we discussed at an earlier meeting, we've had significant turnover and vacancies, which resulted in a delay in getting responses to the auditors. And we lost the controller, who really is the individual who headed up this effort, and her departure resulted in a lack of a loss of institution knowledge. We have provided responses to the auditor's request at this point. So the audit is ongoing. The auditors have indicated that, basically they are not at a point yet where they can give us a specific timeline in terms of when the audit will be complete. So it's possible that we would have to request a second extension. But at this point, we have provided responses to their request, and there's no unusual reporting or audit issue that I'm aware of.
So before I open it up to questions, just to clarify, you mentioned that the initial deadline was December 31st. There's been one extension requested. What's the deadline on that extension?
The end of January.
All right, so 1/31. And you said that depending on, there may be a need to ask for a second extension. Or
Correct.
request, and that would go through the end of February?
Correct.
The monthly cycle?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll open it up to questions.
I find it a little concerning. I will tell you, Ms. Bossy has been gone as previous controller since the first couple of weeks of July.
1st of July, first week of July.
So it's been 5 months since she's been gone. We've not been able to have a finance department personnel be able to put together what seem to be pretty consistent answers on our audit. And it's very concerning to me. This is the first time that I know in the towns, since I've been involved since 1998, that has happened. And it's concerning, and I think this board should be concerned about it. And I hear your general statements about it. I don't want to have to dig down into what questions could not be answered in time, but it's just concerning as a town, that we could not wrap our hands around this. And that you're also saying that we may need to get a second extension. We don't even know whether we're going to be able to get the first extension, but by January 31st. It's not right.
It's just,
It's not right for a AAA community like ours that this is going on.
well, it's more than answering questions. It's pulling together documentation. And the position, she left in July, the position was open until October. So it's not just a matter of answering questions.
Okay, but we knew this was going. I mean, the search should have been sped up. I mean, it's just,
The search was in process as soon as she left. And one of the things, unfortunately, one of the issues we're having is, as we have open positions, we post the jobs. We have not been getting very good candidates. We have a senior accountant position that's been open for more than a year. We did feel that, we sort of took a risk and hired someone. That didn't work out. It took a while to fill the controller slot. So, we have been posting positions as soon as they have become open. But we're trying to find good candidates.
I just want to be clear. This has nothing to do with our outside auditors, correct? Our independent
No,
auditors.
no,
Not one thing to do with them. It's only to do with the finance department, correct?
Well, just to clarify, if I heard you correctly earlier, you said that all of the requests that they've made have now been responded. So the
Correct.
ball is in their court
Correct.
now, but so any delay, any request for a second extension because we can't meet the January 31st deadline is because they have the information they need and they need to do their work. Now, in fairness to our auditor, when they request information, they need time to process it and complete their work. So I'm not gonna point fingers and say if we miss again, it's their fault because they need enough time too. But I do think it's important to note that all requests have been made and responded to, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, and there may be, they may have follow-up
Yeah,
questions.
Mr. Matola.
So what, if any, are there any ramifications, Tom, to your knowledge, if we have to ask for another extension? I mean, I guess generally, maybe answer the question this way. Is it, maybe it's not normal for Fairfield, but to your knowledge, do municipalities throughout the state request extensions to file their audit report?
I am told by our auditors that this is not an unusual
And
occurrence.
your, meaning our auditor's Joe Sedafani?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not ideal, but it's not unusual.
Right.
That's what he told you.
That is what he told me, yes.
And are you aware of any ramifications if we have to ask for another extension or?
No, the only ramification would be is if we were to make a request and it wasn't granted. And my understanding, as long as there is a legitimate reason for the delay, you would get the delay. And the typical reason is that you have personnel turnover. And that is generally the reason why, again, I'm told that you have delays.
Are we like, for some of these personnel where you said it took a year to get a senior accountant,
The position's open now.
positions open. Do you have any understanding why it's difficult to fill these positions? Are we paying enough money for these positions?
You know, I don't know. I think we've looked at the salary, you know, we've just increased the range that we're asking. We get lots of resumes. It's just that they're just not, you know, not qualified.
I think, and you guys are more in the business, I think there's a shortage of accountants, isn't there? I know my son's graduating from college this year and his roommate's an accountant and he got offered a job, is being paid a ton of money and people aren't going into that line of work like they used to. So maybe I'm wrong about that, but.
Well, but it also, I suspect that part of your screening process is to find someone who's got experience with certain systems, which you're not going to get straight out of school, right?
Preferably, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Keep us in a loop.
Yeah,
Yes.
please do keep us posted on that. Mr. Walsh.
Mr. DeFelice, has that ever happened in any of the cities or towns you've worked for? You've seen this happen before?
Yes,
Where does it happen?
I know it happened in Wilton. I mean, I think it may have happened once in New Canaan.
Okay, and what were the reasons for that?
Turnover, change in CFO.
And is there a point person on the finance staff now who's the point person for the auditor?
The controller.
Okay.
Should there be a second person who also knows what they're doing in regards to this so that, you know, we lose somebody, we could respond properly and timely?
If we had people and if we had resources in the department, we have open positions in the department now. So basically, in terms of the audit, it is Tony and myself. You know, one of the things that hasn't happened over the years is there were not detailed policies and closes, and that is something that we're trying to put in place. You know, part of the problem is when the former controller left, there was no documentation in terms of how things should be done or were done, because that was his institutional knowledge that walked out of the door.
I've been more careful with Ms. Bossy, I guess.
I'm not sure what that means.
I think she didn't feel respected in the organization. I think.
I don't think it should be speaking from Ms. Bossy. Definitely miss her, you know, walking into town hall and one of the first things asked her to stay. She had already moved on in terms of another offer. The institutional knowledge that went out the door with her, you know, it was significant and concerning. I don't think anybody is disagreeing with that. And as Mr. Harris said, learning from that and making sure that we have policies and procedures in place. So then, you know, if Mr. DeFelice leave, you know, I'm not, not letting him. The next person in line at least has a roadmap to what the job should be. Because we're losing time, you know, we lose time in needing to recreate the wheel or find out what the wheel was. And I really just want to give a shout out to the finance department, who has been really working on top of getting ready for the budget, getting ready for the quarter, and getting this audit done. That it really has been all hands on deck, and I think nobody wants that department fully staffed more than Tom,
No,
and
really.
maybe then.
I just think it's commonly known. I mean, Madam First Select Woman, I know she told you the reasons why she left.
Are we talking about personnel
Why are we
reasons? and
talking about an individual person?
Do that.
That's not in the purview of the board.
It's not, it's not.
It's not in the purview of the
I've
board.
never
Jim.
heard it, so you're making crap up and you're talking about personnel issue for a town employee. No, she can't talk about that and you know better. Well, then you gotta go read a book on that stuff.
Okay,
Come
all
on,
right.
you know better.
All right,
Yes,
let's
you do.
let's return order. I think all the points regarding turnover have been made and noted, and addressed. I think the board has gotten the update in terms of the status of the audit. So,
More questions.
yeah,
for
so,
Mr. Harris.
yeah, if there are more questions, let's get back to.
So how far behind are we from when we should have had that information to the internal auditor? Were we behind in getting him or the company?
Yeah, I'll take a
So,
crack.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out how many months behind we are. Because it
Well,
sounds
you know-
like we might need to get another extension.
Well, I did say it's possible. I think generally, if Caitlin had been here, the process of pulling together the year-end package would have started in July. Basically, with that position being open, we were not aware of all of the requests that were gonna come from the auditor. So those came in, I think, in August. And frankly, we had other things that we were trying to do. So we didn't have time to give I didn't have time to give, I wasn't able to give a lot of attention to those. So those had to wait a while. So when Tony came on board, we began to work on them and we were behind. I mean, I don't know. We began to get information to them. I guess we did get some things to them in October. We began to present documents to them in October. That probably would have happened in July or August, in terms of how the process started. But I don't know exactly, how it went last year, but my sense is it started, in July because Caitlin, she's done that 15 years.
Yeah, so Mr. Mottola.
So just, and Jim, you may or may not know this because I was on the audit committee. We would get the audit committee preliminary report from Joe, like usually in December at some point. It's not final, but these are my findings. So I guess if you look at that and we get a final report or preliminary, we're probably, sounds like maybe a month behind, maybe a little bit more.
Did the audit committee receive that same report yet?
We haven't, so I reached out, yeah, well, no, I reached out to Joe a couple of weeks ago to find out what was happening, and I think it was before our last meeting, because I wanted to schedule a meeting and he told me what was happening. So I would say, based on kind of that tentative, the way it used to work, it's worked historically, probably about a month behind, I would say. He'd have like a preliminary audit in December and present it to the audit committee.
So do you have a meeting scheduled with him to have something later in the month?
Not yet, because I wanted to find out what was happening here tonight and then talk to you and Jim, because you're on the committee. I don't know how we're gonna handle that, but I'll reach out to him and let you guys know, okay? I would say about a month or so behind right now.
But it's very likely that there's gonna be some activity related to this before our next full board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our fiscal year 25 books are not closed yet. We can't close till after we do the audit, correct?
Well, internally, the books are closed, but until the audit is complete, it's subject to change. But that's where the process works.
Anything else? No. Okay, nothing, no action item here, so we'll move on to item 6, which is old business. There are the old business list, itemized list or summary of open items. starts on page 6 of the online backup. There were 3 items that had anticipation completion dates for our January meeting. So those are the emergency response director vehicles subscriptions, the fire department outside services account, and a review of Paycom. For the first couple of items, I believe we've got Fire Chief Dunn on the line. We'll have Tom and Karen address those, both the subscriptions and outside services items. So Chief Dunn, welcome.
Thank you.
So just in terms of the subscriptions, the question has been raised at a couple of meetings before as to whether or not there were subscriptions paid for the former COO's vehicle. My response was no, but I followed up with the fire department and police department, and Chief Dunn can speak to what he's aware of.
So we were not aware of any subscription on that vehicle. We think, we're not sure, we think that the question was directed towards the fact that there was a Starlink, which is a satellite service antenna and hardware installed on that vehicle. But we never received, we never started any service. We were never asked to start any service. What we believe is that it might have been intended to be started, but it never was by Mr. Becker. But I checked anything that would have come through the fire department would have come through emergency management, and we did make no expenditures on any subscription services for that vehicle.
Mr. Walsh.
Well, that basically means that there was nobody was paying for the Cradle Point services to have communication because they go through like generally Verizon. So none of that stuff was started, even though there was multiple 4 modems in the car. The Starlink service, which was also in the car. So I don't know what's more disturbing to me. The fact that we would buy Mr. Becker would buy all this equipment for his Batmobile, and not use it.
Can we now refer to it as the Batmobile?
Whatever, a souped up, out of the ordinary emergency vehicle, which was supposed to be some type of like mobile command point. Would pay for that car and all that equipment, all that fancy equipment. And I talked to other departments, and people were laughing about it.
Okay.
Or the fact that we would pay for it and not use it, that nothing would be enabled. So that if there was this grand event, this doomsday event, which is Starlink, I think there's an email out there, I can get it to our board, where there is an email to Mr. Becker from one of the installers saying, are you sure you want it? Are you preparing for doomsday?
I haven't seen that.
I'd love to. I don't know what's worse, that we would buy the equipment or the fact that we would buy it and not use it.
Well, with all due respect, Mr. Walsh, I think that this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't item, right? Like clearly, nobody on this board was aware that this vehicle was being acquired. I think as soon as this became apparent to everyone, actions were taken, right? And Mr. Becker is no longer with the town. This vehicle is being redeployed. If it's not needed, if the equipment's not needed, I think what we should be worried about is making sure that if those subscriptions were signed up for and we don't need it, well, let's stop them. And I think what we've heard tonight is that as far as anyone is aware, no subscriptions are being paid for.
I'm just hoping that we're all looking in the correct accounts because.
Okay, that's a different issue, and that's a valid.
With the 5 fire vehicles, I think it was.
Yeah.
Mr. Becker was dipping into all sorts of different accounts to pay for these 5 fire vehicles.
Yeah.
They were not normal fundings of fire vehicles.
Yeah.
So like what other account in the town may it be hitting and we don't even know.
Right. Mr. Matola.
So on the backup on page 8, this is from Deputy Chief of the Police Department, I believe. Says, "Hi, Tom, I spoke with our fleet manager. He said anything that is in that car now regarding modem cradle point is our new equipment for police purposes." I guess the question I have is, was there the stuff that was in that car, is it still, that was purchased by Mr. Becker, is it still in the vehicle, the equipment, or has it been taken out and it's been, for lack of a better term, retrofitted for police purposes? Or in other words, was there anything unusual put in that vehicle that not in a standard police vehicle? I guess that's the better way to frame the question. I don't know if anyone can answer that.
Chief, do you know the answer to that? I do not.
There was several bits of equipment that were in that car. The fire department, the only thing, the nexus we had was we took back laptops that, not laptops, but iPad that he was using for dispatch purposes, and we have them in our possession. So you know, they came back, and also he had a portable radio, which we took back once that car was decommissioned to him. So the police may be able to tell you about what's left in that vehicle, whatever hardware is left in that vehicle.
Okay, Tom, can you get that, answer that question from the police? What's left in the vehicle?
Yep.
You kind of answered the question a little bit here. What's left in the vehicle? What, if any, equipment that was in the vehicle before the police took it over was removed, put somewhere else? Is it being used by somebody else or some other
I
department?
don't think that anything is being used by another department. I think that the vehicle was outfitted to be an emergency management vehicle. There was equipment in the vehicle that was for fire. Some of it was used for police. Fire took what was for fire. Radios came out. Police are now using the vehicle as, you know, their neighborhood
Yeah.
enforcement, and are able to use the equipment.
And as far as we know, you've looked into it, there are no subscriptions out there for some other service. Police don't think there is, they don't get billed for anything, fire department doesn't. No other department in the town has been billed for some subscription. If a bill comes in for something that looks funky or weird, you'll let us know.
Well,
Right.
and you spoke to purchasing as well.
Yes.
We just looked from the purchasing aspect to the point of what vendor potentially would be providing this service. Let's do a vendor search and see if there's something that we're missing that's not accounted in police and fire, and we have not found anything.
All right.
You know, as we're going through the budgets for next fiscal year, you know, we'll continue. If something seems out of whack, maybe if it exists, it'll turn up as part of that process. But we've looked at it from a number of different angles, open to suggestions. If you think there's an account that maybe is in that we have not looked at,
Well, I mean, I
happy
think
to.
working with police, fire and purchasing, sounds pretty thorough.
Hope it's not being paid through like the library or something.
Mr. Walsh.
I think the town librarian would let us know if that was.
Yeah, Mr. Walsh, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Chief Dunn.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Chief Dunn?
Yes, sir.
You were asked about, was there any other equipment in there that was out of the ordinary? There was 4 radios in that vehicle. Is that out of the ordinary to have 4 radios when a human being only has 2 ears?
So there were actually 6 radio heads in that vehicle, I believe. Most police and fire vehicles only have 1 radio head in the vehicle. There is an exception. Our shift commander has 2. They have 1 in the front and 1 in the back, just in case they're using the back as a command post. That's the only one I know of in the town that has 2 control heads. You know, it's 1 radio with 2 control heads. There were 3 radios in that vehicle with 3 with dual control heads. So 3 in the front and 3 in the back. So it was a little different than norm.
Could you fit 6 people in there? In that car?
Maybe, I don't know, two in the front and 3 in the back, 5, probably not. I think the idea was to monitor different frequencies without having to change channels.
Okay, like I said, you only have 2 years, right? So.
All right, can we move on to the outside jobs or outside services account? Do you have any backup for this item?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yep, I got it. It's page 10 of the online backup. Great. You want to take us through this?
Yes, so, and I'll let Chief explain how the revenues are derived. But basically, at this point, the fund balance is about almost $14,000. And this is similar to the police jobs fund. So, Chief, if you could discuss the functions that result in the revenue for this.
Yes, so what happens is occasionally we're asked to provide a fire watch, say for example, for Sacred Heart University or Fairfield University, if they're having an event where they, it's an overflow crowd or whatever. So for safety reasons, they may hire, for example, 2 firefighters. These firefighters will go to the scene, take portable radios, and will, perform certain functions to ensure public safety. After the event is over, our admin will bill the organization at a certain rate, predetermined rate that we have, and we'll get reimbursed. So this fund, will get replenished by those, the proceeds from those invoices, but our firefighters being paid overtime to do these events out of that fund. So it's hopefully it's in and out, but the hourly fee that we charge, there's a little bit of a delta. Hopefully, we've been trying to keep up with it. At a certain point a few years ago, we had to move the hourly rate up with the blessing of the fire commission. We moved that up to something, as salaries moved up. So we always figure that we have that little delta. So we're making a little more than we're putting out, in event. So, it's events like that. And it's also sometimes like if a building like we had a retailer during Christmas, their sprinkler system shut down. And so they would not have been able to have people go into that building and shop, and it's their busiest time of the year. So they asked us to provide a fire watch that they could continue, and we ensure like the safety of all the people and make sure the exits are clear and et cetera. So that's basically what that fund is. It's very similar to police have an outside jobs fund that's very similar.
Yeah, thank you. Questions? Mr. Walsh?
Thank you for the explanation, Chief. I guess the only difference between like this and the police fund is it's a lot less, obviously, right?
Yes.
And you've actually in 2023 fiscal year had a loss, actually, without even a capital expenditure. So I guess there potentially could be loss. I mean, we have a policy yet on this? We need a policy. I think the Board of Finance should be like, if somebody wants to take capital funds out of this thing, that it should be approved by the Board of Finance and maybe the Board of Selectmen, whatever, but there should be a process.
And we have one.
And we should get updated on this. It's
For the police.
on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Becker solely made this decision.
Agreed.
And without talking to anybody else. And that can't ever happen again.
Yeah, I gotta,
Yeah, Mr.
I totally agree. I think, not that you didn't need the vehicle, the 2024 vehicle. I think we all probably would agree, but I agree that we should be involved in this and just authorize it.
Yeah.
That's not what this fund is for. At least there's no policy for it, so we should be involved.
So,
And I do like the police.
Yeah.
Now they make a lot more money, so it's been helpful with buying their vehicles. However, I would like the fire fund, if it builds up, to be able to be used for their operations, either for a piece of equipment or a vehicle at some point in time. But there should be at least an argument so we can all be, their visibility on it by the town.
Agree.
So I don't know who can do the policy. I mean, is that something, Tommy, you would do or
Drafts.
somebody else would do? Is there one for police yet?
Yeah, we can do something that's in line with what the police does.
Yeah, and I think let's get that on the agenda for our next regular meeting, if we can, just to review that policy and see.
Yeah. Although, Tom, I don't want to hold
Yeah,
you
no,
up.
good,
We're
I
working
think-
on it.
like-
We're gonna be,
like-
closing out the books and working.
Yeah, fair
on it.
enough.
I was gonna say-
I think that's priority, but
All right, well, we'll let you decide when.
I mean, it's not emergency, but like it's.
If we, on this account, if we had that fund balance, like in 24, we did, right? 26 grand.
No, that was just for the annual activity,
The fund balance
Right,
is
so-
14 grand, it's the total.
13,600
Oh,
on the total.
13, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
misread that.
It's not cumulative, so you have to add them.
Gotcha.
Mr. Myers, you had a
Yeah, I just
question?
had a question about the upcharge and how we decide on how much
Yeah.
to charge and how different is the police upcharge? Because, I mean, I would think fire department's time and service for some of these events is just as worthy as a police, so.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you want me to answer, sir?
Yes, please.
Yes, but thank you. So the reason being is that the police do have more events. They have a lot more road jobs and things like that they do. But they also have a better delta because they have a similar charge, but they utilize a lot of the specials, that those special police officers. Now they're a very lower salary. I'm not exactly sure, but it could be, $25, $30 an hour, for example, as opposed to our lowest is going to be our firefighter rate, which is going to be, the $55 to $65 rate, or our lieutenants may, be in the $75 rate, $85 rate an hour. Our assistant chiefs, if they're working that job, they're getting up to, $90, $100, an hour rate. So, we have the smaller, we're making a smaller profit out of the whole thing. So the police also, on all their jobs, I believe they charge for a vehicle, which is on the roadside, which is, being used for safety purposes, flashing lights and keeping the workers safe on the side of the road, where we're just, our workers are just going in their own personal car, going up to the school or the business, and they're taking one of our portable radios, and we're not charging, for any equipment charge. So we're just not making the same profit on the same thing, on the same, daily basis.
Chief, Mr. Myers, if I could follow up on that. Chief, I think that the police outside jobs fund kind of intentionally prices to a certain margin so that they could use that to fund the purchase of vehicles, over time. Is your expectation that you're pricing this to break even and make sure that the town doesn't lose money? Or are you is the objective to actually build up to use for something specific?
Well, the objective always was two different things. It was both to make sure that we're always in the positive cash flow.
Yeah.
And that was number one. And that's why we moved up from, I think we're at $75 an hour when I first got here a decade ago. And then at some point, a few years ago, we changed it. We made it up to $90 an hour. So we just wanted to kind of keep ahead of the curve there. But I mean, that's basically the biggest thing. Plus, the other thing that I wanted to say was I just didn't want to price this out of business either, where schools then said, oh, it's too rich for our blood, and we're not going to have certain events or whatever, or businesses just maybe not tell us when their sprinkler system goes down. God forbid.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. I have a few. First, we touched a little bit on the deficit from fiscal year 23. I trust that that's related to the mix of, staffing those particular jobs that year, and it was closer to break even. So that's fine. We talked a little bit about the expense side of it being different between police and fire. Fine. In terms of the policy, I agree. We need a policy. It should mirror or mimic what's done for the police. In the police, with the police activity, what we've done is the police outside jobs fund will build up a balance. And then through the budget process, we'll actually transfer money from that account as revenue to the town. And then the cars that are purchased by the police department show up as an expense to the town. So you can track that, and it doesn't look like these cars come out of nowhere. I'd like to know if the $71,000 outlay for the Tahoe went through the expense item, or if it was just paid for here, because if it was just paid directly out of this account, I think you need a $71,000 increase to revenue and an offsetting expense reflected in the fiscal year 25, so that we're consistent with our accounting. And I think the policy should make sure that that is the normal course going forward. Okay, great. Any other questions on this item? Okay, so that takes us through the fire department piece. Chief, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Chief.
Thank you very much.
All right, happy New Year.
Good night, you too.
Third item on the old business open items list is a review of the pay comp. And Tom, I'll let you take us through that. I think you have some folks with you as well. I don't know, see anybody, or I see Dave Kelly is on the
We
line.
have Dave Kelly, we have representatives from
Oh, great.
Human Resources.
Okay. And then, okay, so I'll turn it to you.
We have a memo that was included in the backup,
That
and
starts at page 11 of the online doc. Thank you.
so the purpose of the memo really is to summarize our experience with Paycom, which at this point I think is very good. I think I would just say we're in a good place. I mean, I'll recap the memo. The agreement was entered into in August of 24. And initially, the project manager was the assistant director of human resources. The first payroll was processed in December 2024, and that payroll included all town employees, including police, fire, and FCRD. The difference is that salary input data for town employees was put input directly into Paycom. The input for police and fire was through their scheduling system. It went into Munis, and then there was an interface between Munis and Paycom. But all employees were processed, the payroll for all employees was processed in December of 2024. I mean, at the outset, there were processing issues. Initially, as issues arose, they were directed to the assistant director of HR, who coordinated responses, attempts for resolution with Paycom. When the assistant director left, HR and finance individuals began having daily meetings amongst themselves. Paycom was included on some of those meetings. I think in around July, first select person Vitale decided that we really wasn't getting the kind of progress that we should be getting or wanted to get at that point. And we restructured the process and the team. After we had outreach with the senior management of Paycom, it resulted in a couple things. One is they assigned additional people to the process. We restructured the town team to include IT for the first time. Dave Kelly was designated as project director. We began having daily meetings that included Paycom. It resulted in, I think, very good success. At this point, there are no significant unresolved items. The thing that we still want to do is to create a process where police, fire, and FCRD payroll data can be input directly into the Paycom system. That would mean the development, I think, of some kind of interface, not the creation of the purchase of an additional module. So I think net at this point, you know, from a functionality point of view, we're getting the things that we'd hope to get. And there are, I think, very good benefits from the system, and it's working well. In terms of the cost, it certainly has cost more than what was in the budget. I think we budgeted about $150,000. We've spent on an annual basis about $230,000. Some of that relates to processing issues that we had early on. So some of that would not be duplicated, but on a run rate basis, I think when the budget was put together, the assumption was that there would be fewer people on the payroll than there are. I mean, when we have seasonal employees, the head count, the payroll count for a couple of months reached almost 700 employees a week because of the seasonal employees. But we do have some costs related to the processing issues we had. We also have sales tax, which we should not have been charged for, not a large number that we're getting reimbursed. So in summary, that's where we are. I think, the system is working. I think we're operationally, we're pleased with it at this point.
Mr. Matola.
So in the backup, you supplied the contract, right, Tom?
Yes.
Someone, it's just me. I don't understand page 19, the graded part. It has all the applications that are included in the service, right? And then it says, for example, total on all 1,908. What is that? 1,908.86.
I'm not looking, I think,
I guess my question is simple. What's the cost of?
so yeah, that assumed that there were 330 employees, and that is the cost for processing 330 employees for one payroll. So
One payroll.
for one payroll, so there is
$1,000 and change.
yeah. So the way the pricing is a charge per employee.
Okay. 330 paychecks at 133. The total cost for a 330 paycheck for a pay period is $1,908. Okay, that's what that means.
But if I heard you correctly.
The actual number is much higher, is higher.
Because if we have 700 employees in the
In
summer.
the summertime.
And.
Well, the actual number, when you include police, fire, it's more than that. It's more than 500 a week. Well, pay period, so.
And so when we budgeted to pay for this, I think you said the first year we put about $150,000 in the budget. Okay, so that's kind of what we estimate the cost is going to be to use Paycom, right?
It's probably gonna be closer to 175 if you look at the total number of employees.
You look at the total number of employees and then you figure out
The cost
the
per.
cost
employee.
per pay period, and that's the number you come up with.
Correct.
Okay. And so I guess the other question I have is on page 5 of the memo where you have Paycom application benefits, and there's a bunch of them.
Mhm.
Are all those things, are we able to do all these things?
These are
with
things that
Paycom?
we are doing.
We are doing all
Right.
these things. Okay. I should take a look at it. There's a lot of great things that we were able to do with this. And then the 230 that you spent this year, you said some of it had to do with
Roughly 48, close to 50,000 is like
processing.
non-recurring. In the things that would, there's a quarterly payroll tax filing that's in there, that's probably 15,000. But there's probably 15 or 20,000 that relates to processing issues where you had to redo.
Okay. That's a
That
one-time
would,
thing.
that would
for
be
us.
not recurring. Hopefully.
Mr. Myers.
Yeah, so I just have some questions about defining the check processing number of 175,740 to this number that Ola was just referring to, which was 1940.48. And also the number where you get 32,000 paychecks in 12 months. So is it fair that are there 26 pay periods?
There are basically the equivalent of 6 pay periods per month, because you have weekly payrolls and you have bi-weekly payrolls. So basically doing the equivalent of 6
Okay,
days.
so we have weekly employees and then we have a regular wage, which would be a 26 month. So I guess my first question was, when we were doing the estimate in this proposal, why would we have put 330?
I cannot speak to that. I was
that
not.
like screaming, like, when you saw that, you must have been like,
I wasn't,
this
I
is
don't,
crazy. Because I mean, if I look at the 1940, I mean, I don't know how you could have gotten to 150,000, because that looks more like.
yeah, that was, I wasn't, the HR did the budget. I mean, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
But I was not a part of that piece of the budget process.
Okay, so of this 175,000, forgetting the other stuff, how much of that would you say is an ongoing cost?
That I think would be basically ongoing, because that is just the base, the cost of processing a payroll. That is the number of employees times almost $6 plus $134, $135 per pay period.
Okay, so this would be reflective of this 32,000 paycheck number. Right? Okay. So if I
mean, you can go through it. I mean, I have a schedule. You can go through it and actually do the calculation.
Okay. And then I have another question.
Yeah.
As far as just the troubleshooting that you would expect to go on between every department to determine whether the system is actually calculating payroll correctly. The easy ones are the ones where the employee points out that they were underpaid. But the ones that you don't find are when the employee gets overpaid. So how many audits were done across every department during this process to make sure that nobody's getting overpaid?
I don't know that I would say that there was an audit. I think that between finance and HR, we review payrolls, and I mean, there were a number of issues that were identified. I wasn't involved in the details of all of those, but I know.
Well, I can say department heads look at their weekly payroll and eyeball it and have to approve the time cards that they're submitting for payment. So if the pay is incorrect, whether it's too much or too little, they would see that. They would know generally what their employees make and how much should be in a paycheck.
There's a follow-up.
Sorry.
The one thing I would want to add to it, I guess, part of when we look at actuals versus budget, I mean, that is not a detailed review, but that, if there was a significant difference, that would get captured there. But if there's a small difference, maybe not.
I could just ask then, during the whole implementation process, were there any specific departments that did have incorrect calculations that had to be corrected?
A lot of the overtime stuff, when we were programming, working through the programming, wasn't working properly to begin with, but we have communication with department heads, with union leadership, with employees themselves. So there's a constant coordination and interplay when the process is happening.
Okay.
So most of the programming has been done. We're still tweaking a few things. Many of our contracts are really difficult.
Right.
So that was one of the biggest challenges, but Tracy and Jude Fitzgerald work front of house, as I like to call it, and they're in Paycom making those corrections and, you know, making sure that they're in line with the contract, that Paycom is calculating correctly. So it's been a really living, breathing kind of thing. So it's not an audit, you know, a spot audit or things like that. It's kind of, we've been working through it since the beginning of June, really.
Do you feel like you've gotten through that now, or is it, or is it still a work in progress?
I'll let Tracy speak because she's in it. I kind of just am there to consult and make sure the contracts are.
You guys.
Sorry, yeah, let us.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Joanne Courtmanch. I'm the labor relations specialist.
Oh, okay.
And so I do all the negotiating of the contracts and all of that stuff. So my role really was predominantly to make sure as we were programming everything, that it was in line with the contract language.
And then Tracy Chifo, I'm the HR associate and been part of a lot of the, you know, programming and working with Paycom daily and really in the weeds.
So I guess the question.
Is
to
for
you.
Tracy.
Do you feel like you've gotten through 100% of this? Is it a forever and always gonna be tweaking this
I
thing,
think
or what is?
We're mostly at the finish line. We're not 100% there. Like, you know, we have the snow removal and, you know, we're working on making sure that that's being processed properly. But yeah, we're very close. It's just minor tweaking down there as far as everything goes. But we you know, we've spent the time to get it to work where we need it to work.
If I could ask one more question.
Of course.
To
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, of course. Kelly.
Can you hear me? Dave?
Hello.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Dave, this is
Yeah.
Jim Myers. So I'm glad to hear from our CFO that you have been asked to be on board on this ongoing implementation team. I'm just curious, when you heard or learned of the town implementing a major software implementation for payroll, were you surprised that you weren't asked to be involved?
Yes. It's kind of our business, but yes.
Okay, well, we're sorry if you were offended and glad you're.
Not offended.
Okay.
Like Tracy and Joanne said, I think we've made a tremendous amount of progress. We were in a position of catching up versus being on top of it from the beginning. But Tracy and Joanne have done yeoman's work at getting things straightened out, as have, you know, Jude Fitzgerald is right now working on the W-2s to make sure we get those out correctly this year. And Kiva in finance, Kiva Berry has also been working very hard on this. Not to mention Mr. Boveru sitting quietly there, making sure this all hits our munis budgets correctly. So I agree with the ladies that things are looking very good at this point to us.
Great. Thank you for that, Kelly. Any other questions on this item? Mr. Walsh?
A couple of questions for either Dave or Tom. Start with, why do we have 6 payrolls? Why won't we just do everybody weekly? You'd reduce your payrolls by 1/3, right there.
I assume some of it was tied to union agreements. I mean, basically it's salaried, and I don't know. I don't know, and it's not something I've really looked at. But it's something we may be able to.
It's saving 2 payrolls. It's
I
saving-
can
But the
tell you-
cost is based on the number of employees, really.
So I've only been here for 3 years. I can tell you the number of paychecks and how that's being done is not in the contract language. However, it is now a past practice, which would need to be negotiated with. If we want this.
Do employees generally complain about getting their money sooner? I've never seen that happen.
I haven't heard anybody complaining
My job,
about
I've
the
never seen
frequency.
it happen. We used to have by pay, some people weekly, some people because of state laws in different states, some people weekly. Now we're just gonna go to weekly for everybody. There has not been one complaint. Oh, I'll take my money sooner, sure.
I have never been asked to approach a change in the payroll.
Okay.
If I'm asked, I certainly will
I
do
mean,
that.
it just seemed.
It is something we will consider at some point.
Yeah, no, you made it, when you mentioned it, it sounded like that was an onerous thing. You're like, we have to process this payroll.
No, it's just
Okay,
setting up.
process 4. Yeah, take 2 away. Okay, the sales tax was just being mischarged.
Well, I think when you qualify, at the time you entered the agreement, there should have been a filing. It's a CRT 134, I believe. That was not done. Maybe somebody just wasn't aware of it. But in going through this process, we raised the issue with Paycom. They said, well, nobody followed the form. We filed the form. We provided the amount of taxes paid, and they have agreed that we will be reimbursed. Is that correct, Dave?
You said, we saw the nod. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Okay, I saw the total number of employees on the back of page 2 under the service costs, the 330. Is there a reason why a better number wasn't put on that?
I don't know. I can't.
It seems like it's almost like a fake number.
That was in August of 24. I was not around. I cannot speak to.
Right in the middle of the seasonal summer, right? Yeah. Well, we probably had 700 employees. It seems like on that same thing, there is no listed for quantity of people who were direct deposit employees. Anybody know the reason for that? I know none of you were there when this was negotiated.
I don't know that.
Zero direct deposit employees.
I don't know. That is not true. I mean, the majority of the employees are direct.
Would be direct. Yeah. Trying to get people to be direct deposit. It's usually more expensive for a check, right?
Well, the pricing that is on there, the $5, that includes the cost for direct. That's both. You get a check or a direct deposit. There's a separate charge for direct deposit if you have a second account and you make a direct deposit into that account. So for instance, if I have a part of my salary goes into one account, you pay the base fee plus the $5. And if the balance goes into a separate account, there's an additional fee. That's 30 cents or whatever the charge would be.
So I guess to Dave Kelly, so have you been tasked with moving police, fire, and the FCRD personnel to Paycom?
Yes, we are working to make the integration closer than it is today. Basically trying to take Munis out of the middle of the process.
Okay, so explain to me what on the fire, police, and FCRD, what the process is for those employees versus the rest of the employees for the town.
I'm not a payroll expert by any stretch, but they do have more complicated pay differentials and various things than the rest of the town employees. Many of us are on fixed salary, or we're on fairly easy to program hourly rate or whatnot. Police and fire have shift differentials for evening shift, midnight shift, relief shift, so on and so forth. And their timekeeping is done in what I would consider to be state-of-the-art, best in the business systems for their kind of work. So police scheduling is very different than scheduling, rank and file staff in town. Same thing with the fire department. They're using a best-in-class product to track and schedule all of their people. So what we're working with in those cases is not the whole thing soup to nuts in Paycom. We're taking information out of other timekeeping systems and trying to bring it into Paycom. We're eating the elephant one leg at a time here. So right now I'm concentrating on the police department as a starting point. And we're trying to get to the point where we take Munis out of the picture and various other steps out of the picture between that timekeeping system and Paycom. And we're working closely with my counterpart within Paycom, and we haven't come to any showstoppers yet. We think we can do that.
Okay.
Once we do, we'll move on to fire department. So.
Yeah, a number of years ago, something came up with POS. And I do remember that the POS system does not have like wage information on it, correct? All that information is resident on Munis. Am I mistaken on that, or has that changed?
That is largely correct. We were looking at having POS do some of the wage computations, but they actually, when we met with them, admitted themselves that's not their forte. And there were certain limitations in the way they do wages in their system. So that's why we did not try to adopt the POS module to do the computations. For example, if a officer goes from day shift to evening shift on the first of the month, well, POS, their granularity is only by a week. So you're either overpaying a week or underpaying a week because they're not granular to the day. Munis and Paycom do have the ability to activate a differential change on a given date. So that's why we're keeping that in the payroll system.
So let's just stay with POS. So on the POS system, they only send you over hours to Munis, and then Munis does the calculations because it has the wage data within the software system that you guys have.
That's correct.
That does the calculation for what the pay is?
It does a lot of the computations. Then that information is sent into Paycom, and Paycom does some more processing to produce the actual paycheck and the pay stub.
Is that a seamless situation? Like the POS information just flows right to Munis, it calculates it, and it flows right to Paycom. Nobody in the town needs to touch that. No one needs to do calculations, enter information, do spreadsheets, anything else like that.
Yeah, it's a largely automated process, but there are several people that have to push that process through, and we're trying to shorten that by getting more directly integrated into Paycom.
Okay, and how long do you think that process will take?
It's hard to say. Right now we're concentrating on fixing what we already have in Paycom and getting the W-2s computed correctly, but maybe a couple of months or so.
Okay. Couple of months or so? Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of the W-2s being calculated correctly, I know last year, we're kind of in that time period, getting close to it, but about a year ago, the W-2s didn't get calculated correctly, correct?
Correct.
How many times? 3 times? Some people got 3. Did some people get 4 W-2s?
I don't recall the number.
Anybody know?
I believe it was 3.
3? Okay. And pursuant to this, did we have to pay the per unit charge for a W-2 of $695 each time that happened?
I can't speak to the bill. I have no idea what the invoice is.
Okay. Was that a Paycom issue or is that a town issue?
Some of that is in the other charges at 48,000. I believe that's cost in there for those.
You say 39% of the $48,900 was W-2/quarterly filings.
Well, there's the cost just to do the filing, and then there are other charges for corrections, which was the
I don't see any correction charges.
tax adjustments. So if you had corrections,
Tax
adjustments in the
tax adjustments. So 54% of the 40.
those are primarily, correction of mistakes.
Okay. So that'd be an additional W-2 at $695 per.
I don't know I don't recall exactly.
On the last page, where the list of services on the second to last page, the third to last line says $695.
Yeah, but that will be in the regular, that's just the regular filing. So you have W-2 quarterly filings. 695, and, you know, there were corrections, and I don't know, I can get the details, but there were, you know, various corrections. And depending on the nature of the adjustment, there was a charge for it.
And what were the reasons for that? What were the major reasons for?
I think a big.
Having to do it 3 times, 'cause I'm
Yeah,
sure,
I wasn't-
I'm sure after the first time, you guys were like, holy crap, we gotta get this correct the second time. And then it happened again.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't involved with it, but I think the major portion was the corrections for W-2s, and also corrections of some of the quarterly tax filings. It was W-2s and quarterly tax filings that had to be adjusted.
Okay. Okay, so. Joanne and Tracy, hi, how are you? How do you guys get involved with the POS system? What's your role in that in regards to getting the hourly rates in, the hours in from police, fire, and FCRD? And then what's the process then? Do you guys get that stuff in?
From HR per se, we don't.
Okay.
It goes to finance.
Okay.
Um,
I'm done with you, thanks.
Yeah.
Who handles it in your department?
Kiva Berry, but it goes, the information that's put in goes from POS, and you know, I don't know if to what extent Kiva's actually involved in the interface between POS and Eunice. I don't know, Dave, if you know the details of that. I can't speak to the specific details of it.
So the files from POS does go to Kiva. Kiva brings them into Munis, runs it through a processing cycle to partially process the payroll. That file then comes downstairs to IT, where one of my staff runs it through an adjustment program to convert from the old Munis pay code to the new Paycom pay codes, and then that goes back up to Kiva to be imported into Paycom, where the processing is finished. Our goal is to get rid of all of that and just take a file straight out of POS, load it into Paycom, run the payroll.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Is there any way for the police to enter, or police personnel, whoever I know they have different, not police officers, but staff over there, administrative staff. Is there any way for them to interface directly with Paycom and be able to enter the information directly to them and Paycom know what the pay codes are? So that we wouldn't have to do all this whole circle thing.
And would that save money?
And would it say, yeah.
I don't know the answer to saving money because I'm not a finance person.
Yeah.
I think theoretically, yes, that is one of the things that we have discussed, was to do it directly at the department level. My understanding, and I don't know specifically because I don't touch payroll, but my understanding from being involved over this past 6 months is that the real issue is that Paycom is not set up to do calculations. So even if POS could speak directly to Paycom, Paycom does not at this point have the ability to make calculations. I know specifically for fire, it's not necessarily the straight time pay, it's the overtime rates that are very specific to each individual firefighter based on their education incentive. So at any given time, an employee's overtime rate is a fluid thing based on that particular week's situation. If I get increased in education, then that changes my educational incentive level that goes to my overtime rate. So the regular rate of pay that they get on a weekly basis is static. The overtime rate is where the calculations are happening in Munis. And it's my understanding that Paycom is looking into developing something to allow that to happen. I don't know what the status of. So that's my understanding of what the challenges are.
So Dave, based on what Joanne just said, that's why you're trying to do your own workaround because we still have to calculate it all. Paycom won't do the calculation. Like, we can't tell them these differential like charges, whatever.
So, well, I'm working on the police department at the moment, and the kind of the wrinkle is that Paycom assumes that if you're getting time and a half, you're getting time and a half on your rate. And if you have a shift differential, you're getting your time and a half on your shift differential. But the way it works right now is, as an example, if an officer is working night shift, they get an increase in their base pay because of that. If they work overtime, they are paid their overtime with shift differential as they earn it each week. But they don't get the shift differential on their base pay each week. They just get their base pay each week. And then they get paid a stipend twice a year with that amount as a catch-up. So that's the wrinkle is Paycom, if they got paid their shift differential as they were earning it, Paycom takes the math and, it's just a simple calculation. But so the upshot is that we have to have a overtime rate for that officer, and then we have their base rate programmed into Paycom, and then they still get that catch-up stipend 2 times a year for the base pay shift differential. It's just something that a civilian payroll system doesn't really account for, but we've devised a way to solve it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will say, we started down this path and told how great it was going to be. I don't think, I can't speak to any other member, but I will tell you that this board member never saw what happened now happening, which is even when I read Tom, your report where you talked about how how it was being handled originally when there started to be problems. You said to address the changes, this is with Mr. Gerber, a working group initially comprised of representatives, human resources, finance, and the first selectman's office convened daily meetings to resolve issues in collaboration with Paycom personnel. That's now evolved into you taking kind of over, and then with Dave's now the point person. These 2 women, people from the police department, Kiva, Jude and people seem to be working on this stuff all the time. The number of hours that has gone into this is astronomical. And I have to believe you all have other better things to do than to sit here and still trying to resolve payroll. I mean, it just seems like an incredible effort, and we're not even solved yet. We're still working on it. So, to me, the way I'm looking at it, I know you've all done a lot of hard work and tried to get us. Something went wrong here. I know, Tom, you've tried to explain where everything went wrong. There wasn't proper planning, and you were very forthright about that, and I appreciate your honesty about that. But boy, I mean, sitting here now, Mr. Gerber in early 2024 saying how great this was going to be and solve these problems, and to see what I would imagine, has had many meetings about it, thousands of employee hours. I'm not even talking about Paycom people, but you guys are still like, I'm happy to hear we're near at the finish line. So I was very happy to hear that on certain things, but whoa, this thing is like the setback this has been to this town and its administration in trying to solve all this. And we're still not there. I mean, we're close, I guess, on the town side, but we're still got a ways to work on the fire and FCRD. So I just got to say, I don't think this has been a success. I know we are where we are. We have to proceed, but boy, this thing went off the rails.
So, I mean, I'm just attorney working for the city of Bridgeport, and you guys probably know more about systems like this. I would imagine that when you implement a new system like this, there's always hiccups. I don't know if anyone here does this stuff for a living, but and I don't disagree, Jim. I know it's been a bumpy road, but the thing that I like about it is this. PACOM system addresses the issues identified in the PKF O'Connor Davies external audit of June 2020. An audit that showed there were so many issues with our payroll. That's for the public who's listening, that's our outside auditor who identified a whole host of issues. Lack of control.
Limited
And
attendance.
so this, and it's taken a while to get there, I admit that this system is fixing those things, which in the long run is going to be beneficial for the town of Fairfield. And just what, if you, I'm not going to read all this stuff, but if you look at page 5 and 6 of the memo, what PACOM does, taking the human element out of it. For example, the town now has a formal electronic time tracking mechanism that accurately tracks work hours for non-public safety personnel, as opposed to someone having to write that down on a weekly basis. So things like that it does. So yeah, it's been a bumpy ride. Sounds like we're almost there, but I think in the long run, it's going to be worth it. So that's all.
John, you raised a good point. When is the time and attendance going to be applied to public safety people? I mean, why isn't it applied right now? Why isn't there a time and attendance for public safety? I mean, especially with all their differentials and stuff like that.
The time and attendance is being done at the departments. So PAS does it for CRD and police.
Okay.
And Purdue does it for fire.
Okay, so
That's where the
everybody in
time and
town is a
attendance.
time and attendance. So if I arrive supposed to be there at 8 o'clock and I arrive there at 7:50, I'm now working, right? I sign in.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
know how those systems work in terms of punching in or out or.
Wasn't that what you're talking
I
about?
think
Time and
I think it's
attendance?
scheduling. I think it's more of a
Christine, you
scheduling.
know that every employee is properly there, what minutes they're there every single day, correct? Every single employee.
They're going in, well, employees aren't punching in. Certain employees aren't punching in.
Okay, why don't they have to punch?
They're exempt.
Exempt, yeah,
Okay.
Salaried.
yeah, salary. and
Salary
full
time.
time. But for those employees that,
Overtime, I just,
so they're either using Paycom or they're going through PAS and First Due.
So other than a department head, every single employee of the town has time and attendance. Okay, so if they stay till, they're supposed to work till, I'll just go with the town hours, 8:30 to 4:30. They get there 5 minutes early, they sign in. They stay there till 4:45. They get overtime for that?
Up and down, yeah, which is fairly standard.
Okay. You guys have like a report that you can show per department, like what hours are?
We can run all kinds of reports out of Paycom.
It'd be interesting to see, because what I'd like to see is are we going over on how many hours people are supposed to be making?
There were
And it's costing the town money,
There were
so.
specific instructions to department heads and employees about when they can and cannot punch in. They can't punch in before a certain time because it would trigger overtime. So that's part of the managerial instruction in terms of the managers managing their employees.
Okay, so even if they're there working, their managers are telling them they can't
They
punch.
should not be working. They are not, they are instructed that they cannot come to work.
An employee can't decide, I want to come in half hour early on his or her own, so they
Any
make
overtime
extra
has-
money. You're not allowed to do that.
Has to be approved.
Okay, and then is there a specific, like the department heads kick them out of the department at 4:30? Stop everybody from working right at 4:30?
I can't speak to that, but I don't believe that that needs to be done. People leave at their time. If there are certain departments that face the public and there's a public member in the office, they're certainly not going to kick their staff member out while they're serving the public. but the hours are 8:30 to 4:30 for town employees.
Okay.
So that's the expectation. And if an employee is continually triggering overtime, then there's a conversation with that employee. It goes to management of the employees.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That was got into a lot. I appreciate the update. All right, next item on the agenda is
Can I
just.
just say a
Sure.
thank you to Dave
Oh, yes, thank you, Dave.
and to Joanne and to Tracy and to Kiva and to Jude and to Christine Brown and to Andrea and to everybody and to Tom and Ben. And you probably had a role in it too, who have just, come together as a team to move this forward. And I think that a lot of work has been done since the beginning of July and, implementing an information system like this, there's gonna be bumps along the road and things are going to, especially given the number of employees we have in the different contracts and overtime and pay differentials. I think we have a good team involved right now in communication with Tom, with Paycom. They've been responsive at a higher level when they need to be. So I want to just give a shout out to those people because they've been working very hard.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one area of new business, old business that was supposed to have been taken care of already by now, and I wasn't at the meeting. I couldn't make the meeting.
Yeah.
Which was the special meeting we had with regarding the assessment.
Right.
And one of the things that was requested that be done prior to the letters going in the mail.
Yeah.
Was that we get a list of what areas of town and what their percentage of increase was.
Right. Right.
And we have not received that.
Okay. I will follow up.
And it's not on their website. I've continually gone on their website.
Yeah, you're talking about like the heat map and then the neighborhood summary.
Yeah, and I've had two taxpayers who've asked me about it. I said, no, it's coming out. It's coming out. That's why I kept looking for it, to be quite honest.
Yep.
And they contacted our assessor and
Okay.
asked for the map.
Yeah.
And they were told that they can't do the map anymore because they don't have the capability anymore. What do you mean that you don't have the capability? So either we need the numbers, and if not, we need the assessor for us to have a full question and answer with the assessor for the next meeting. That's what I'm
Sure.
making that.
No, that's a fair
Because
update.
everyone's freaking in town and they want the answers
Yeah.
about what areas went up.
Yep, I will follow up with the assessor in the morning
I appreciate it.
and I will, I'm
I thought
sure.
about calling him, but I thought that was really for you to do.
Mentioned that the data
Like
was,
he can give us the map and then the neighborhood by breakdown. So I
Yes.
think that there was a change, but he could provide
yeah, I
the
think
information.
my recollection of
was-
that discussion was that the challenge was the graphic, the map. And the data was there. So I think if we can get the data out to the board and posted on the assessor's page on the website, that should satisfy the public in terms of the data and the information, whether it's put into a, I don't know what the limitations would be there.
When you speak to him, can you ask him about, is there a certain number of neighborhoods that got applied a certain, increase based on where you were, or can they not supply that to us? Like, I don't know if
No,
it was like-
That was discussed in the meeting,
Yeah.
and correct me if anyone recalls this differently, but my recollection was that it was a bottom-up approach. So each property was assessed individually and then aggregated at a neighborhood level, which there were 20 in town. There was a question about why 20 instead of 10. We have 10 RTM districts, but the way they do it, they have 20. That's fine.
I think it's better.
More granular. But they aggregate up, and so neighborhood number 3 maybe look different than neighborhood number 5 as it summarizes. But yeah, I think that would give town residents some and us some insight into what areas of town saw more or less of an increase.
It'd be interesting if they could do a map and work with the engineering department to show where those 20 areas were.
Yeah.
20, even if they were a number, so people had some idea of what neighborhood you were in.
Sure.
Well, that is there. I mean, unless the map has changed significantly, which I doubt it has, you could at least go to see the 2020 version of the map in all the neighborhoods. And I don't think the number of neighborhoods have changed, so.
Or
The map
boundaries have,
and the
yeah.
number of neighborhoods and where you are and which one, that's there. The only thing that's missing is the average per those 20 neighborhoods. I don't think, like you said, we needed to graphically appear on a map.
Right.
But the average increase would be
Sure.
helpful to have.
Yeah,
Just the data.
yeah, absolutely.
I asked for the heat maps previous reval because I wanted to see the difference, thinking that we were gonna get heat maps for this time around that we didn't get. So I want to do a comparison.
Yeah.
I didn't get them.
All right.
And I asked Craig if
That'd
he
be
could
great.
ask.
All right, so I'm gonna do three things. One, I'm gonna make sure that we get the data. Two, I'll ask for the prior reval heat maps, and three, I'll ask why we can't get the current reval in graphical
Sure.
form. And yeah, okay,
The same 20 districts though?
same 20 neighborhoods, yeah.
Neighborhoods, sorry, neighborhoods, yeah.
Yep.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Absolutely. Okay, well, if there's nothing else on the old business topic, everything else that was on the full list was provided in the backup, but only the items that were designated for anticipated completion date of this meeting were on the agenda. I've obviously got something to add to that now, that's fine, but the only remaining item on the agenda for tonight are the minutes, item number 7. November 18th and December 2nd had full attendance, and December 11th had 2 absences. So if it's okay, I think we should break that into 2 votes. So can I get a motion to consider the draft minutes from November 18th and December 2nd? Mr. Matola, seconded by Amy Ruggiero. Thank you. Okay. Are there any comments or corrections or changes to the November 18th minutes as provided? And for the public's benefit, those start on page there. 21 of the online back.
Can I just ask a general question?
Yeah.
My question's gonna actually apply to a different reference, but I'm gonna ask before we go through all 3.
Sure.
So as far as like just the administration of putting together these minutes, should we expect that things that are asked for, like for example, the heat map in the neighborhood, shouldn't we expect that type of request be in the minutes? Because when I was going through the minutes and I didn't see a request, I was sort of like, well, I don't feel like these minutes are complete if they're not at least documenting if something was specifically asked for. Is that not how it's done?
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea. We can certainly consider that. And I know that technically per the guidance from the state and FOIA requirements, the minutes need to just basically list out the action items. If there was a vote, what the vote was, things like that. All the color, that's kind of gravy. It's not required, but I would turn to our recording secretary. Is that something that you think you could incorporate in terms of if there's a specific request, at least noting that?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Maybe just at the end, you could just recap what the request list is
Okay.
at the end of the meeting, just to recap it, just to make it easier, just to record. And this way, everybody's on the same page of, this is the
I said
ask.
that before. I thought maybe Tom, you could keep the list.
Right stuff.
And then
Share it with the group the next day.
Yeah, and I tried to do that this past, after the last meeting. You know, I think I got everything out the next day. It might have taken me 24 hours, but.
I do try to put stuff in there, like today I have put that in there, the stuff in there about the maps and about, Paycom stuff and the other things, but maybe I might have missed it, I'm sorry.
But I do appreciate the suggestion, Mr. Kelly, in terms of the chair. I can provide a summary list right now about what those items are. And I will do that before we wrap up.
On these November 18th minutes, there's properly listed. Great. Recording secretary. It says that I asked for a report on the utilities, the new contract. And Mr. Testati said he would supply it to me. And I've not had.
I think he said he would supply it at the next, with his
Quarterly.
next quarterly.
Quarterly.
That was what I had noted. Yep, okay. So no suggested changes or adjustments to the November 18th? Are there any?
There's some changes. There's some changes.
Oh, sorry.
Not so quick, Mr. Curley.
Hey, turn down your volume.
That's our volume.
Being very loud.
You woke us up. Sorry, Mr. Bentley. Suggested changes.
We're looking at the December 2nd?
No, November 18th.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So we're not hearing anything for November 18th. Let's move on to December 2nd. Mr. Penley, do you have any suggestions?
I think that there's a mistake for the purchasing policy subcommittee. I think that it's Shane, Jim Myers, and Craig Curley. Because Jim was on the old one with me, so I'm assuming it was supposed to be me and him.
Okay.
It says Walsh for the record.
So it's Shane, Penley, and not Jim Walsh?
No.
Jim Myers.
Okay. Okay, so item 4 of the
While we're
December.
there,
Yeah.
I did not ask to be put on the Senior Disabled Tax Relief Committee.
Okay, we can, right, so it's Bob, Jim, and Dave. Okay.
Correct.
So the two edits would be to, on the 4th bullet underneath item 4, change James Walsh to James Myers. And the 5th bullet, Senior and Disabled Tax Relief Subcommittee, we would just delete James Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other changes? All right, can I get a motion to accept the 2 changes as noted? Amy Ruggiero, seconded by Mr. Walsh. All in favor of the changes? Aye. Ms. Penley? Yep. All right, unanimous on the changes. Okay, so now can I get a motion to approve the November 18th and December 2nd minutes as adjusted? Amy Ruggiero and a second by Mr. Matola. All in favor? Okay,
Aye.
We've got 8-0 there. Mr. Stark left the meeting early. And now that takes us to the December 11th special meeting. There were 2 absent there, Ms. Ruggiero and Mr. Walsh. So can I get a motion to consider the draft minutes from December 11th, Mr. Matola and Mr. Penley with the second? Okay, any changes or comments on this? Mr. Penley, you're gonna yell at us again, or are we good? Got the thumbs up from Mr.
speaking.
Penley. Okay, so all in favor of approving the Thursday, December 11th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Right, and the 2 abstentions. Okay, so that's 602. Okay. So that takes us to communications. Any communications, Mr. Mayor?
Our senior auditor is retiring
Okay,
in about a month. The job has been posted. And we hope to find a replacement before she leaves so that we can work through the transition.
the bummer. You're talking about Miss Saxon.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, when is her last day?
February
16th?
16th.
Wow. Okay.
Get on the audit committee and she
Is that what happened?
That's just the facts.
What?
I thought it was me.
Why for the audit committee, what I want to do, and I'll reach out to you guys, is sometime in the next 2 weeks, get a date. So Connie can present some of the audit she's completed to us before she retires, and
Yeah.
and then I don't know what's gonna happen after that. We may not have a lot to do. but
Yeah, we
that
get
is
someone
what
who
it
is on board. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. And then just to wrap up, the open items from tonight's meeting that I have is limited to the assessor grabbing the three things that we talked about, getting the data, asking about for the prior reval heat maps, and inquiring about why we can't get current reval heat maps.
Thank you.
All right, motion to adjourn. Mr. Rock and Mr. Myers with the second. Thank you all. 8:59.
I'm telling you.